with that. So before we go ahead, um, usually the tantric session starts with taking refuge, but I want to take refuge because this is Lamalena Sangha. I want to take refuge the way she does. I'm not sure that everybody knows the way she does the tantric, the refuge prayer. So we'll do some experience um, with some slideshow. So let me practice that for a second, and we'll see that we can do that. Okay, so I hope you all see that. So this is the just thumbs up if you see the. Do you see the slideshow? Okay, I think it has to be in presentation mode, but I don't know what is in presentation.
Yeah, it's there. We can see it.
Yes. Okay. So. Yes. Whoever needs a Hebrew translation, thank you, Edith, for jumping in and doing the Hebrew translation. This is very exciting. Okay, so let's start with the refuge prayer. Okay, so those of you who know the prayer, just join us. Those of you who don't know the prayer, you learn, and then maybe in the future we'll learn the meaning of this prayer, because this is mainly a prayer that goes for the Dzogchen rather than the Tantra, and there for the Tantra there is a different, like different prayers, but we'll start with that today. Okay, so Shire single bado shing labde. Vedang mapacho tata tu shuchi. Dokchen chupela mala sova. Organ pe majunela sova. Dode chang chilo naro dang. Mapa mila gompo tatsapa. Na pupadang palden trupas. Kagyuna malamala sowa ade. Kagyuna manamala sowa ade. Gelugna manamala sowa ade. Namalina namana sowa ade. Pakundu drunk da mie pa. Gongerab doje shing trak pa. Jiti dang nitsume pai. Para malo chutten che. Okay, so what we're gonna do today? Well, I want to share with you what was happening from the beginning of just registration. Now we have 35 people, which is quite comfortable for me. But when we had the registration, what happened is that we have more than 100 people that have registered. So I was wondering what's going to happen, because I prefer much more something that is more of sharing rather than a lecture. So 35 is very manageable. I'm not sure that we'll do it this way. But before that, what happened is that you have been answered some of the questions in the form. And from this question, it seems like some of the people do not know, what does it mean Tantra? What does it mean to practice Tantra? Because we were asking people to register only if they have Yoga Tantra or Anuttara Yoga Tantra. So some of them didn't even know what does it mean. So we were thinking maybe to start with some kind of a Tantra introduction and to create some kind of a leveling. So we'll see which goes where, because for the vows, for the tantric vows, it's really open only for those who have the initiation or the empowerment for the Yoga Tantra or the Anuttara Yoga Tantra. And I don't want to be any policeman in front of that. So we'll make some kind of an adjustment in the future. So let's start with some kind of a question that I think many of us have been thinking about that, but I'm not sure that we really made some kind of very deep inquiry about the motivation. Why do we practice Tantra? If you stop for a second and think about it, maybe at the beginning, when you started, when you first was introduced to Tantra, it was something that was, I don't know, maybe everybody goes to Tantra, or I'm curious about that. Maybe afterwards it's happened that you change your motivation, or the motivation have changed you. So maybe there was a little different motivation, like, do I really want to get enlightened? And if I want to get enlightened, should I do it with Tantra? Because people are saying that there are other tools or other practices that can bring me to enlighten. And then comes the others, all creatures or all life. Can I practice for all human beings or all creatures? So, what is your motivation? Can you name it? Can you say something about that? Because to be a tantrika, which is the name of the one who or the one who practices tantra, requires some, like Ramalina likes to say, a lot of gonzo. So if you want to put gonzo, you better sort out your motivation. Otherwise, you just fall off the wagon, and it will happen sooner than you think. And what does it mean to fall over from the wagon? It means that, oh, I don't have time today to practice. Or maybe, oh, what are the what is the minimum that requires for me to be a tantrika? Do I have enthusiasm to practice tantra? Do I like it? I mean, if I like it, does it mean that I want to do it? And what happened yesterday? Oh, yesterday I was tired. And what will happen tomorrow? So there's no one outside of you who is scolding you because you don't practice. It's all about you. I mean, there is no one outside in the form of the deity or the form of the Buddha or the form of God or the form of a friend or a form of a lama that will scold you because you're not practicing. It's all up to you. So motivation, it's the first thing that we want to put on the table to see why we do that. And then when we have this in hand, the question is, what does it mean? What does it mean to practice Tantra? And I'm not sure, was I just receiving the initiation for the Kriya Tantra or Yoga Tantra or Anuttara Yoga Tantra or maybe Charya Tantra, if I even know what all those mean? And what is the difference? Because, in Lama Lina's classes, in the Zoom classes, there are many questions that she asked, and she said, what kind of empowerment did you receive? And people not always know what kind of empowerment they receive. Maybe they know the deity, not always, but even when they know the deity that they have received the empowerment for, what happens is they don't know what kind of empowerment they receive. So just let's go over that and see what does it mean to practice Tantra. And we'll start with something which is um, let me see. Okay. So before we dive into the Tantra, I want to just to mention, because there are different kind of Dharma vehicles. Most of us know that, but the different Dharma vehicles are the different Dharma vehicles are Sutrayana, or sometimes we call it Hinayana, and the main focus of Sutrayana and Hinayana means that I want to free myself from suffering, which is also a nice motivation, if we go to the motivation part. Mahayana, it's a bit more complicated because when I go to Mahayana practices, what I go for is I want to practice for the sake of all human beings or all beings. What does it mean? What does it mean when I sit on my cushion and I practice for all living beings? Do I know what does it mean? Usually it goes with the level of understanding of shunyata, of emptiness. Then comes another vehicle, which is the Vajrayana. Sometimes it's called Tantrayana, sometimes it's called Mantrayana, but they are all the same. Okay? So when we go there, I just want to mention that we have all those three vehicles. Sometimes people goes in between them because in different times of our life and different time of the time that we allow ourselves to practice, we want to share what does it mean, you know, that I practice for the sake of all living beings. But when you go to another level of the different vehicles, you see that what happens is that how long does it take in the Sutrayana to go to be enlightened, which means free from suffering? They say it takes 600 eons. Okay, eons is our lives. In the Mahayana, they say it takes 3 eons. In the Vajrayana, they said one lifetime. And in Dzogchen and Mahamudra, which are not here because they are not vehicles, they are something else, it says now. In instant, you can be enlightened. So if the scripture is saying that in Vajrayana or Tantrayana we can reach enlightenment in one lifetime, not die and live, die and reborn again and again, but in this lifetime. What does it mean? So should I go to the grocery store and to my work and then I'll go enlightened only because I got an empowerment? Does the empowerment give me the possibility or the chance to be enlightened, or is it something else? So even in the Tantrayana or Vajrayana, we have different levels. So we have the different types of Tantra. That's where we ask in the forum, what kind of empowerment or wang did you receive? So there is the Kriya Tantra, the Charya Tantra, the Yoga Tantra, and Anuttara Yoga Tantra. The two first are considered to be lower tantras, and the two second are considered to be the higher tantra. So, what is the difference? What is the difference? Why, when I'm taking White Tara initiation, or if I receive the Medicine Buddha initiation, where does that belong to? How do I know if it's Kriya Tantra or Anuttara Yoga Tantra? And how do I know to sort out the practices because there are totally different practices? So there are some information here. The presentation will be sent to you, so you don't have to write it down. We'll put it in a PDF and we'll send it to you. So just to make some kind of understanding, the Kriya Tantra is mainly focused on ritual deity practices. So the rituality is very important there. That doesn't mean that if you go to, I don't know, to a monastery and you see a mantaka, which is the Anuttara Yoga Tantra initiation, and you see the practice, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a ritual, but it's totally different ritual. I'm not so familiar with the Charya Tantra, to be honest with you, because I never received any initiation of that, but then I never practiced it. But Yoga Tantra and Anuttara Yoga Tantra are totally different. And Anuttara Yoga Tantra is considered to be the highest one because they're all practice deities. But what happens is that it's create a totally different level of understanding of emptiness or shunyata. And that's why when we say, the high capacity or low capacity of a practitioner, We don't say that somebody is intelligent or not intelligent. This is not measured by IQ. It's only measured by the, I would say, the attraction to this kind of practices. So, as we said, it's the level of understanding of emptiness. This is one thing that sorts out Tantra's level. And then there is another thing, level of bliss. What does it mean, level of bliss? I mean, if I have a bliss, is it different to have a bliss? You know, when I was, I don't know, 12 years old, I was in love with one of the guys in my class. So I looked at him when he wasn't watching, because when he watched, I was going around. I was too ashamed to do that. But I did have some kind of a bliss inside of me. So is it the same like a bliss that, for example, in union, uh, a couple experiencing bliss of orgasm, for example? You can't compare that, right? So, what is the level of bliss that comes inside of you from the rituals? This is also another, I would say, another measurement how you sort out the tantras. And then there is another one where we place the external practices. I mean, is it external? Like, for example, Kriya Tantra and Charya Tantra are external. There is me, and there is the deity, and the deity is in front of me, and I practice with the deity, in front of the deity, but we are totally differentiated, okay? But when you go to Yoga Tantra, it's different, because you are now going into internal practices. What does it mean, internal? You become the deity, and then internally, processes are happening. I'm not going to go into it now in details. In the future, we'll go into more details. What does it mean, internal practice? Now, this is one level of the highest Yoga Tantra. But Anuttara Yoga Tantra, it's specifically special internal practices that you might heard the name, but I'm not sure if you know how to practice them. It's called the 6 yogas of Rolpa, and sometimes it's called the 6 yogas of Niguma. And Tumo, of course, is the basics for that. So, and it takes years to master Tumo. Okay, so when you have this, for example, this only exists in Anuttara Yoga Tantra. If you're practicing Tumo, for example, you're not practicing Kriya Tantra. You're already practicing something else, which is more of an Anuttara Yoga Tantra. So there are some distinctive feature for that. Like, for example, in Kriya, there is a lot of emphasis on ritual cleanness. You have to clean this and you have to clean this. And on food, you are restricted to eat dark food, which is onion and garlic and other foods, or many external purification. You'll read about it later on when we give it to you. I don't want to give too much emphasis on that. But when you start practice Tantra, there is always Yidam involved. Yidam is a tantric deity. Sometimes it's called deity, sometimes it's called Yidam, sometimes it's called, some people call it angel. I don't like this translation, because angel for me always goes to something which is nice. So if you know Vajrakilaya or you know Yamantaka, nice is not what you can describe this Yidam. Okay, so I'm not sure that angel is the right word. So I prefer to stay with the Yidam or the deity. So, for example, in the Yoga Tantra, the emphasis is on mudras and hand gestures and all kind of those. Just a second, Benny said it. Oh, okay. So what Benny says that I'm on my first slide and nobody sees what I'm sharing with you.
Yes, you were on page 4. to now.
Okay, so do you see now? Thumbs up. Do you
Now
see
we
the
see
slide?
page 3, the prayer.
Do you see now something else?
No, still the prayer.
Oh, okay, it's still the prayer. Okay, I don't know what's happening here. Do you see now something else?
Yeah, now it changed. Now it's the
Oh,
vehicles.
okay, now it changed, but it's not in a. Okay, so I leave it this size. I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, now we just see what we saw the whole time, which is the Dharma vehicles.
Okay. And do you see now something different types of
Yes,
Tantra?
now the types of Tantra.
Okay, but it's small because if I put it on the screen mode, it doesn't show. So I leave it small. I'm sorry for that. Okay, apologize. We'll get better in the Zoom sharing. Okay. So we were now in the distinctive features of other tantras. As I said, this presentation will be given to you, so you don't have to write to try to memorize that. But let's go to the Yoga Tantra and Anuttara Yoga Tantra, not because we don't like the Kriya Tantra or the Charya Tantra, because they are very strong, but it's totally different than the Yoga Tantra and Anuttara Yoga Tantra. So, for example, in Yoga Tantra, there are a lot of emphasis on mudras. Mudras are gestures of the hands, and we are doing that very elaborated, and there are reasons for that. Okay, we'll talk about it in the later on, and how we apply that, how we do that. And also in the Yoga Tantra, there is something very important that was developed in this level, which is the Bardo ritual. If you are familiar with the Bardo teaching, you know that this is something that is very important. Teach you how to die and how to get enlightened by dying if you, for some reason, didn't get enlightened in this lifetime. Okay? So the Anuttara Yoga Tantra took the ritual from the Bardo ritual from this Yoga Tantra. It's combined there, but it started here in the Yoga Tantra. And in Anuttara Yoga Tantra, there are the main practice is to start work with the energy system of the body. You might have heard about the channels, the chi or the prana, and about the tigles that run inside the body, or I wouldn't say inside the body, but let's say inside the body, okay, just for the sake of the explanation. So you heard about chakras, maybe. So everybody who studies now yoga, you know, the hatha yoga, can learn about that. But how to practice that in order to reach a certain level of awareness that you eventually slide, that's the right word that I choose, slide into the Mahamudra or slide into Trekcho, okay, or Dzogchen. The practices that are made in the Anuttara Yoga Tantra can help you a lot of that, okay? So what does it mean? So all of us should jump now and run into the empowerment of Anuttara Yoga Tantra? No, that's not what I'm emphasizing here. Each one of us can rely on those practices that really touch their heart, okay? If you don't like what you practice, like Lamalina said, you will not practice that. So if you have something that you practice now and you like it, but it's not in the Anuttara Yoga Tantra, there is no competition here. There is no competition. You don't have to practice Anuttara Yoga Tantra. If you love to practice Medicine Buddha, for example, practice Medicine Buddha, even though it's not Anuttara Yoga Tantra. I think if I'm looking back in my path at the way it's evolved in my life, everything was changed during the time because the more you practice, the more something is developed inside of you, and then from the external comes something new into your life. So you might have taken the Medicine Buddha, for example, which is Kriya Tantra, that might have taken this as empowerment. You practice this for a while, and then what happened? It's that all of a sudden there was an opportunity in your town or elsewhere, or maybe the COVID brought it into you, and you all of a sudden been exposed to empowerment of, I don't know, some kind of Anuttara Yoga Tantra, like, for example, Chakrasavara, or Vajrayogini, or Vajrakilaya, or Kurukule, or Yamantaka, or Kalachakra. Those are uh, the tantras that are mainly part of the, I would say, the most common known Anuttara Yoga Tantra practices. And then, what happens when you receive this initiation or this empowerment? You might have liked it, maybe not, maybe even rejected it. So what would you do? How would you consider to have it, practice if you don't like it? Or if you don't understand that, which is very often happens. If I don't understand what I practice, why should I practice that? Or how should I practice that? So this is something that you might want to consider when you think about Tantra, because as I said, Tantrika requires full gonzo, very intensive practices and very intensive, it's time consuming. When people ask me about Tantra, I want to share with you how do I feel about it, okay? Not everybody likes to imitate. Like, for example, if you want to be an actor, what you get is you receive from the director, you receive some kind of script, you learn it, you make something out of it, and then you go on the stage and start to act as this character that you have been acting, right? I think that most of the practices of Tantra, even the first Kriya Tantra, are like that. The sadhanas that you are receiving during the initiation, the empowerment, are actually script. And during this script, what you do is you start to learn the character. If I receive a script about, I don't know, being a man, for example, I'm a woman, but I receive a script being a male, I would like to go and find out how this male behaves, right? What he wears, what he does, how he talks, how he walks, whatever it is. So what happens is that when you become this character on the stage, something happened to you and it's effective. That's why many people who are actors saying that when they learn how to act a specific character for a movie or a stage, what happens is they affected by that. Now we don't do it for the sake of acting, and we don't do it for the sake of being famous. That's maybe motivation for some of the people who are acting. Okay. So again, it comes back to the motivation. What is the motivation? Why would I want to change? And would I want to transform myself from being this, I don't know, human body, into, let's say, Vajrayogini or white Tara or green Tara? Why would I want to change myself into this character? Do I know this character? Do I want to take this um, I would say it's a long journey. It's a very long journey. Do I want to take this journey, to jump into this journey and to transform myself into a deity, into a character that I don't even know? What does it mean? Should I wait to see what does it do? I mean, what it does to me in order for me to be this character? Do I like this character? What does it mean to like this character? What does it mean to be this character? What does it mean to change, to transform myself into this character? I think that those questions are very important if you want to be a tantrika, if you want to jump into this path, into this road. You want to ask yourself this question. So let's say that I was very drawn to Vajrakilaya. I don't know why. Sometimes when students are asking the teachers, what deity should I practice? If you're a student of Lamalina, you know what she says. She said, okay, open the Google, just Google, and see what's attractive, right? Because when you see what attracts you, there is a reason why this specific deity attracts you. There is a reason, and those reasons are hidden because they are mostly karmic. It's not just the colors, it's not just the figure, it's not just, the all the octomerons they hold or the way they with a partner, without a partner. That's nice. But there is a karmic connection. Most probably, if you're practicing a deity right now, you have been practicing that in your previous life, or maybe even before that. Gertrude Rinpoche is one of my heart teachers, and he practiced mainly Yamantaka and Vajrakilaya. He practiced that for almost, he knows about 7 lifetimes that he was practicing that. He says that, but he says, oh, I'm laughing because what is 7 lifetimes? It's nothing. I practiced it much, much previously, before 7 lifetimes. So if you're drawn to one of the deities, most probably you've trying to practice that before that. So how do you want to continue from here? Do you want to continue everything that your friends are practicing? Or you want, even though you don't have a practice, what do you want? How do you want to achieve to receive this practice? What would I do if I don't have Sangha in my town? Everybody's practicing, I don't know, Yamantaka or White Tara. Should I practice White Tara because everybody is practicing White Tara? But I'm not drawn to White Tara. I'm much more drawn to Yamantaka, the fierce Yamantaka. But I'm a woman. How can I be a man? Because Yamantaka is a male. So all those kind of culture questions comes up. And those questions are very important. You want to be part of this inquiry. You want to do that. You want to do the inquiry in order to practice Tantra. Otherwise, you will just do the practice, not understanding what you're doing, going on the stage, which is sitting on your cushion and practice the sadhana, or even going up from the cushion and walking around in your life as the deity, okay? Not knowing what's going on. Just to give you an example, those of you who have been initiated Vajrakilaya, for example, Vajrakilaya is a practice that's done with I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? Okay. So this is kind of a knife, okay? This is kind of a knife. So what does it mean? Do I go around outside and stab my enemies with the knife? That's what I do with that? Is this the reason why I practice Vajrakilaya with? The kila, or what this is called kila, okay, kilaya, it's totally different reason. The kila, it's a way of compassion, and you need to practice and to know what does it mean to work with the kila. Otherwise, you will go around and think that you want to stab your enemies. And who are the enemies? If you're a tantrika, who and where are your enemies? We transform the enemies into something else, and the enemies are our bakchak or our, I would say, negative emotions. And this is general what I want to say, but generally, it's our negative emotions and we want to transform them. Do we need to kill them? Do I have to go to stop them with the kila? So those are questions that really comes up when I want to practice Tantra. Oh, I'm practicing Vajra Kilaya. Really? Do you? Do you really go into the character? Do you really understand what the Kila really comes from? So you already see that practicing Tantra requires studying, contemplating on what you have studied, and then do the meditation. And in order to do that, there are many tools that are being used in Tantra. And I want to share with you some of the tools that have been, let me see if I can do it. Oh. Okay, maybe before that, we'll go. Do you see now the presentation? Okay. So before we go there, let's just describe the tantric path, okay? Because most of the people don't know what does it mean to go through the tantric path. What does it mean? So if I want to go from, I don't know, from Washington to New York, I better check out the roads before I get into my car and start driving there, right? So what is this path? What are the milestones in this path that I want to take? So the first one is the infrastructure. Lamanina now understand more and more that if you don't have the infrastructure, you cannot practice Dzogchen for sure, but Tantra and even not Mahayana, maybe Sutrayana, even not Sutrayana. So you want to learn Gelamrim, you want to learn the forethought that turned out the mind, you want to learn what does it mean to be renounced, what does it mean bodhicitta, what does it mean emptiness, and vows, not specific the tantric vows, because those are the basic infrastructure. Now, when you learn that and you have the infrastructure and you start to understand what does it mean, then for Tantrika comes the empowerment or initiation, or in Tibetan it's called Wang. So, as I said, there are different Wangs, there are different empowerments. There are Kriya, Charya, Yoga, and Anuttara Yoga Tantra. So, do you know what did you take? Even if you had, like, for example, Vajrasattva. Okay, Vajrasattva can be taken as Kriya Tantra, but there is also Anuttara Yoga Tantra for Vajrasattva. I'll just show you the difference, okay? It's in front of me, it's on my desk. I'm not sure you're gonna see. Let's see. I'll try to make it happen. Okay, up here. So you see here Vajrasattva. What is the difference between the Vajrasattva that you know and this one? This is what we call Yabyum Vajrasattva. Okay? Yabyum Vajrasattva, it's Anuttara Yoga Tantra. It's not Kriya Tantra anymore. So which one did you take when you took the Vajrasattva initiation? Which one did you take? Okay, this is a very good question to know. When you go to take initiation, don't just jump into the hole and take something that you don't know. Once you receive the empowerment on the initiation and you know what you have received, comes what we call the transmission. I don't want to get into it. What does it mean now to get the empowerment? Because the empowerment is being taken in all the four yoga tantras, in all the four tantras. It's been taken in what we call the mandala. Okay, the master, the lama that gives the empowerment, he needs to do self-initiation. He creates the mandala and he entered you into this mandala in order to receive the empowerment. Now, in this time, you got the empowerment. Bye-bye. And now what? Do you know what to do? I mean, it's not the empowerment that change you and transform you. Okay, it's like this actor that we were discussing before. You got the script from the director. Okay. You can put it in the drawer if you want, maybe on the shelf. Bye. Maybe you'll see it in 20 years. What are you doing with this? So that's, in order to practice the script, you have to receive transmission, or what we call lung. The transmission can be divert or transmit not necessarily by the lama, but people who have been practiced this practice. Like, for example, I can give you transmission to all the practices that I have been practiced and being empowered. But even if I have received empowerment for a specific deity, and I have not, and I received the transmission and I received the tree, the practice instructions, I will not be able to give you the transmission if I have not practiced this practice. Do you understand that? It's logical, but I can see many people who give transmission just because they received transmission. Do I want really to bring somebody into, I like the metaphor that Lamalina always gives. She said, if I don't know George, how can I introduce you to George? Okay, that means if I don't practice, how can I introduce you to something I don't practice? Just because I'm saying some words doesn't mean that I can introduce it to you. And then after the transmission comes the practice instructions. That's what we call tree. That can be made by group or personal guidance by a teacher. Okay? And actually, those are the most important thing, because without that, what would you know how to practice? I mean, you do have the sadhana now in your hand. You already got the permission because you got the empowerment and you got the transmission, the lung. But what are you going to do? Do you know what does it mean to take refuge in Anuttara Yoga Tantra, which is totally different from Kriya Tantra, and it's totally different in Mahayana, and it's totally different in Hinayana? What does it mean to take refuge? I mean, it seems so obvious, right? But how do I take refuge in the Anuttara Yoga Tantra or Yoga Tantra? I know how to take refuge in others because somebody taught me that someday, maybe my lama, whatever. But is it the same? And look, I'm talking about refuge, which is quite basic in Buddhism, right? What about other practices that are much more complicated? So now I receive the practice instructions and I start practicing. Okay? And there is years. I practiced this for years, the generation stage. Generation says that I want to generate myself as the deity in each one of the classes, okay? I want to generate myself as the deity. It takes years. People want to jump to the following class, the following stage before they generate themselves as a deity. Because I cannot practice the completion stage if I don't know in instant. That's how it says in the sadhana. In instant, I'm the name of the deity. In instant, I'm Vajrakila. In instant, I'm Amantaka. In instant, I'm Vajrayogini. Whatever the deity that you're practicing, you have to know how to do it in instant. Do you know how to do it? You have to practice in generation stage for years before you jump into the completion stage. And then comes the completion stage. You have to be initiated to the completion stage, which is most of them called the 6 yogas of Rolpa or the 6 yogas of Niguma that we already discussed. In some of the lineages, there are not 6, there are 8, there are 7. There is some kind of difference. And then, let's say that I already practiced this generation stage. Okay, I know basic infrastructure of Buddhism. I know the first thought that turns out the mind, which is basically the precious human life, and then the how karma works, and then the meaning of impermanence, and then the meaning of suffering. If I really know that, I can take empowerment. If I really receive the empowerment, I got the transmission. If I got the transmission, I got the instructions how to practice. And now I practice the narration stage. Where do I go? How do I go to the completion stage? Who give me the permission to go to the completion stage? Because completion stage can be very, very dangerous. And I'm telling you that from experience of my friends that got into the completion stage and got really into trouble. And when I practice, and I'm already there in the completion stage, do I slide into Mahamudra or Dzogchen? How do I slide there? Because as Lama Lina said, only once in her 50 years that she was traveling with her Lama and translating for him, she saw one Chikchawa, one person that has nothing to do with the path that we are now describing. And when he got the initiation of Dzogchen, they got it right away. One Chikchawa, that's the name of it in Tibetan. Most of us are not Chikchawas. Just the other day, Lama Lina has described the way how she was practicing for so many years. I mean, how she, and when she received, she got the initiation into the inner mind, or the feeling, or the sliding into the inner mind. Okay, it took her years. It took us years, but we all want shortcut because we are in the West. We like McDonald's. We like very quick responses. But we have to practice, practice, practice. If we don't practice, nothing will go in. So what are the tools that we have? Look, that's a long list. Did you even know all those long list things that have to do in Tantra? I mean, this is a toolbox that you need to learn in order, and to learn, of course, and to practice, not just to study that, in order to pull out the right tool in the right time. We have Sada here. Sada is a carpenter. What does it mean if you want to cut a wood? Would you take a hammer or would you take a saw? I mean, what does it mean? I don't want to take a hammer in order to cut a tree. I cannot do that, right? So how do I work with all those tools? Do I know those tools? Do I understand what do they mean? So, for example, let's go from the beginning. Nyundra. We know Nyundra because Lama Lina bringing us a lot of Russian, but the Nyundra for Tantra are different from Nyundra to Dzogchen. Okay? Those of you that are teachers, are lamas, who requires before you get the empowerment, you must do Nyundra. You need to, sometimes they need to do all 5 Nyundras. In the Geluk, there are 9 Nyundras. Sometimes you have to do 100,000 times each one of the Nyundra, of the practice of the Nyundra. And sometimes, like Lama Lina said, it's an average. Sometimes the teacher looks at you and said, oh, you don't need it anymore. Or like Lama Lina always tells the story with her Lama, when she finished the Nyundra, the 100,000 times of the 5 Nyundras that she did, she came to her teacher and said, yeah, I got it. I'm proud. I just finished the Nyundra. And she said, he looked at me with such a sad face and he said, I'm sorry, you have to do it again, because it didn't work. Because the Nyundra has a purpose. It's not just to complete a Nyundra. It's to change, to create something inside of us that prepare us to the next level. And then we have yidams. We have different yidams. Yidams are different not because, we like a variety. Oh, I like, to wear red clothes, so now I'll go to Yogini, or I like black clothes, so now I'll go to Yamantaka. It's not about the external thing. The yidam has a purpose. It has its own energy and it has its own purpose. And teachers knows to, I would say, to prescribe like like a medicine, the right yidam to the right person for the right circumstance. And we have mandalas. Everybody said, "Oh, I want to go to Dewa Chen, or I want to go to Kechara, the Pure Land." Those are part of the mandalas of the Idam. Do we know the mandala? Did we learn that? I'm not talking about the 5 Dhyanis Buddha mandala. I'm talking about the mandala of the deity. Now we have a sadhana. We have the long sadhanas, we have the medium sadhanas, and then we have the abbreviated sadhanas, right? So if I don't have time, so I'll practice the abbreviated, the 4, 5, 6 lines, maybe sometimes half a page. What does it say there? Those words have behind them a very, very deep practice. And then there is another tool, mantra accumulation. Why do I need to accumulate those mantras? I think that I only discovered that. I don't remember when exactly, but I think maybe after, I don't know, more than 1 million mantras of my main Ida, that I have discovered what does the mantra mean, or what does the mantra does. But you have to have a lot of faith in order to do, let's say, 1 million mantras. You have to do 10 months of solitary silence retreat, okay, for 1 million, okay? So do we have the time to do those retreats? I mean, you don't have to do it consecutively. I mean, you can do it accumulated. You don't have to do it in a row. So what does it mean, mantra accumulation? How the mantra affects me? Can I do it while I'm cooking? Can I do it while I'm walking? What does it mean to practice mantra? There is a lot of information about it. And then there is another tool, the talk. Talk, by the way, it's some kind of samaya that's it's only in the Yoga Tantra and Anuttara Yoga Tantra, in the highest Tantra. It's not in the lower Tantra. It doesn't mean that you cannot do talk. It doesn't mean that you're not participating, but it's not a commitment. Okay? And then we have the vows. All 4 levels of Tantras have vows. Bodhisattva vows. Even the Anuttara Yoga Tantras have the Bodhisattva vows. Did you know that you take the Bodhisattva vows when you took the, I don't know, the White Tara empowerment, which is Kriya Tantra? It's the lower level. Did you know that you take the Bodhisattva vows? What does it mean? Those are 64 vows, sometimes even more. It depends how you count them and what you include in them. Do you know them? Do you know if you break them or not? Now, when we go to the tantric vows, those are only applied for the Yoga Tantra and Anuttara Yoga Tantra. Most of the time, when Lama gives initiation empowerment, they don't tell you, oh, now I give you the empowerment. They're mumbling something in Tibetan. If you know Tibetan, you might have noticed that. If you don't know Tibetan, you haven't noticed that. But you received the tantric vows. Sometimes those teachers, out of compassion, do not teach you the tantric vows. It's like if you don't know the law, you don't break the law, right? Does it work like that? Because who does the karma? Is it external or me? I'm doing my karma, thought, speak, and body, right? So I better know what I took my commitment. So this is the tantric vows. This is the reason why we are starting now with the tantric vows, because Lamalina thought that people do not know what they were taking when they took the Anuttara Yoga Tantra or Yoga Tantra initiation, and she thinks that they might want to know that. On the other side, there are people who know the tantric vows, but they take it, to the extreme. Like she's always referred to it like a Christian vow, like something that if you break it, you're going to go to hell or whatever. I love those vows because I use them as a tool of transformation, not as a tool of something restrictions that, oh my God, I broke this vow, now I'm going to go to hell. I'm not using that as this way. So those of you who want to deep dive into the tantric vows, not from a restriction point of view, but from how to use them in order to apply them to my daily life to transform it. And you have received Yoga Tantra or Anuttara Yoga Tantra initiation, you're most welcome to participate in the next few sessions that we will give on the Tantric vows. So we'll continue with the list of the Tantric tools. Offering. Did you know that offering is a Tantric vow? It's a Tantric tool. There are many levels of offering. They're external, what you know that you put the bowls on the altar. They are internal, when you do some kind of mudras, Aragram, Padyam, and stuff like that, and you describe something happens inside of you. You need to know what you're doing inside of you. And there is also secret offering. Like, for example, did you know that chess are being practiced in most of the Anuttara Yoga Tantra's long sadhanas in different modes? Some people take chess. Do you know that this is an offering? This is a tantric offering too. Chess. Some people like the music and how to play the drum, ta-ta-ta, ta-ta-ta. That's great. But what's involved there? There is the white offering or the white fist, the red fist, the black fist. Each one of them is totally different. What does it mean? As an offering, as a tantric tool. Then we go to retreat. Retreat are part of tantrika's path. You cannot be a tantrika without doing a retreat. You don't have to go for what's called Chenmo retreat, for the 3 year and 3 month retreat. You don't have to go there. But for example, you cannot use many of the tools, of the tantric tools that we'll discuss, if you haven't done one lerung. Lerung is lerunga sowa, which means I want to straighten my channel. This is usually 1 month, 100,000 mantras, and by the end you go to fire puja, very elaborated fire puja. One time you can do, if you do that, then you're able to do other parts of the tantric. You used to use other parts of the tantric tools. If you don't do that, you cannot do it. I mean, what does it mean you cannot do it? Of course you can, but are you going to get the result that creates? There is a reason why those directors, lamas, Buddhas said that will be preferable if you'll do that. So there is lerung, which is, like I said, 30 days of solitary, usually solitary silence retreat that you do, and you have to learn how to do that. Where you learn, you become familiar with the deity and you accumulate 100,000 mantras, and by the end you do the fire puja. But there are also drupchen. Well, for example, in the Drikum Kagyu with Lama Gerchen Rinpoche, for example, they do drupchen. Drupchen, it can be 8 days, 7 days, 14 days, 1 month. It's groups usually, it's groups. And then there is drupcho, which is shorter. And then the Chenmo, which is a 3 year and 3 month retreat. And there are dark retreats. Each one of them is different tool that has different purposes, that creates different results. And then we have purification tools. Many people say to Lamalina, okay, I did this dikpa and I want to do something. And she said, should I do Vajrasattva? I mean, if I'll do 2 Vajrasattva or 5 Vajrasattva a day, or maybe 1 time, would it be purified? You need to understand what does it mean to purify. So there are fire pujas, there are Vajrasattva. There are reasons why you do that. I mean, there are very strong tools and others, by the way, but I just want to focus here. And then we have the 6 yogas of Naropa, or the 6 yogas of Naropa and Iguma. There we have 6 totally different levels of practices. Do I have to do all of them? Do I need to do part of them? How can I be initiated to them? Who will be introduced me them? Why won't I just jump into the Tumo, which is part of the 6 yogas of Naropa? Why don't I just jump into Tumo? Why do I have to go into this to learn the sadhanas and the yidam and to do the nyundru and to learn vows and everything. Well, you can. Everything is now open on the internet. You just Google Tumo, whoop, you just have the Tumo practice. What do you, I mean, when I see people when I see them, some of them comes to Lama Lina Zoom practice, they got all backed out because of what happened to them in Tumo practice. It was not being, I will say, that they are not being escort with a master. Okay, you need a master. That's why Lamalina said I didn't graduate from my Tumo exam, so I refer you to other Tumo masters. Okay, you need to have a Tumo master if you want to be a doctor. You don't go just and learn by the Google and then go and cut people because you think you're a doctor. Oh, there are some doctors like that, but you don't want to be on the under their hand, right? And then the Bardo process. That's very important. They are part of the Anuttara Yoga Tantra and Yoga Tantra sadhanas. And they're very elaborated. And they're very important if you want to have like a safety net, if I'm not getting enlightened in this life, I want to get enlightened while I'm dying, okay? And then you have the self-initiation, because while being in the empowerment initiation, you purified all the dikpas that you did, especially for the vows, the tantric vows that you didn't even know what they are. So I need to run after one initiation after another in order to clean again and again, because as soon as I'm going out from the empowerment, I promise you, I'm breaking the tantric vows at that moment. Okay? And then the karma starts to accumulate. So what should I do? I'll practice. I'll jump from one empowerment to another just to clean the tantric vows that I'm breaking again and again and again. I don't need to go to run to that. There are specific instructions to go to self-initiation. How you do that, that's a different story. And then in some of the Yoga Tantra and Anuttara Yoga Tantra, you have the dissolution of the whole mandala, dissolution that you are becoming the seed syllable, you're becoming the deity, the whole mandala dissolve into the deity dissolve into the seed syllable dissolve into itself, and then where do you go? Do you know what happens there? Have you been initiated to that? So basically, I think we covered most of the things that that Tantra has to say. I hope that even those of you that have been practicing Tantra for many years learn something different in this perspective, because Tantra, it's a tool to transform yourself from one place that you are right now into a different place, hopefully free from suffering, and hopefully being able to help all other beings to free them from suffering. Okay, that's the purpose. Now we still have a few more minutes, so I want to open that to the question. If you want, you can raise your hand so we can refer to that. Wow, everything was so clear. No question. Okay. Okay. There is Cassandra. I can see it. You raise your hand like this. You don't raise. Okay. So, okay. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Lopön, Dorit. This is just, I mean, I feel like this is an incredible opportunity because I've had the good fortune, even though I've been in the Vajrayana world not very long, I've had the good fortune to have some amazing teachers, mostly online. But it's kind of like they all assume that you have a lot of knowledge. And so like this opportunity, like the way you you laid out the path, and it's just it's phenomenal, and that you're here and available for us. Thank you very much. One question that I have about initiations is, it seems like maybe what level of initiation you're receiving is not only a matter of what is being offered, but your understanding. So if you have an understanding of, the nature of reality as clarity, emptiness, bliss, even if you're just receiving like a lower level initiation, is it possible that you can take that on, like run with it and go to, the higher level, the Anuttara level? And then that's one question. And then another question is just, I hear these terms bantered around. Is Anu yoga and Anuttara yoga, are they the
It's
same
the
thing? Are
same.
they interchangeable? Okay, thanks. Wasn't sure about that.
Okay, so answer just the first question. Yes, when you are, well, let's say that if I'll jump right now into high-level mathematics class in the university, most probably I will not understand anything. So what's happened is the people jump into initiation, into empowerment, and many things are happening there, and they do not understand. Now, you need to know that Tantra works, not all of it, but a significant part of it works on the sub-level of the subconsciousness. So when you have something which is not clear to you, most probably your subconscious received something there. So it's not like we're not like in the West, we want to understand everything. Some of the tantric practices are working on the subconsciousness. But there is a big difference between understanding how it works. Like, for example, what does it mean to give my body? To give it, my body as an offering. And between understanding, I mean, intellectual understanding, and to be able to do that. And to be able to overcome all those hesitations, all those obstacles that we have, because this is the most precious thing that we hold so dear. I take a shower every day because I take care of my body, right? By the way, it's a tantric vow. You know why? Because you cannot get into enlightenment without a body, human body. There is a reason why in the tantric vows, in the 14 tantric vows, only 14 because there are others that I'm not referring to it now, there is a vow to take care of your body. It's not because you want the Lama things or the Buddha things that you need to be selfish. Okay, because you cannot get into enlightenment unless you have this body, healthy body, in a good shape, that will allow you to do the completion stage practices. You have to be in a good shape in order to do the completion stage practices. If you're sick and you have a lot of pain and you don't take care of your body, you cannot reach that level. So there is a reason for that. I mean, I'm just, giving you an example for that. And what does it mean to take care of my body? Should I go and, I don't know, smear some cream on my face? This is taking care of my body. From a tantric point of view, this is not how you take care of your body. So we want to learn that. So what you receive when you get the empowerment or the transmission or the instructions, it's in the level that you are at that time. And I've been in some initiations of the same deity from the same Lama a few times. What I received in the first time, second time, the third time, and even the fourth time was totally different. Although they were reading from the same text, they were reading from the same scripture, they were reading the same thing. But me, as a clump of perception that have been developed during the time, has been changed. So what I received was totally different. So yes, this is very possible to that it depends on what you can perceive.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. And is it, how do we we have to do a separate application in order to, partake in the tantric vow class? You
No,
mentioned,
I think you already. I mean, all of you who have been registered. I think that you have been. There was a question there if you have received the Anuttara Yoga Tantra or Yoga Tantra. Some didn't know what does it mean. Like that's why we're doing this class. I hope that now you know. So, and also, I wanted to give an opportunity for all of those who wants to take part of the initiation of Anuttara Yoga Tantra. I want to refer you to Garchen Rinpoche. It's the Buddhist, the Garchen Buddhist Institute. You can go and Google that, and you have the opportunity to receive Anuttara Yoga Tantra there from him. Okay,
yeah,
and this
thank you.
is very important. Now, how you take an empowerment, this is a totally different story that I'm not going to dive into it right now. Any more questions? No. Okay.
דורית?
Yes, Dorit. Yes, we have another Dorit here.
אני אשאל בעברית.
Okay, you want, so Edith, you want to go to the English channel and translate?
אז השאלה שלי, אם את יכולה לתת לנו לוח זמנים, או מה התוכנית לשאר הקורס? מה נלמד? נלמד את הוואולס, נתרגל סדנה, מה התוכנית?
Okay, so Dorit is basically asking what is the program for the future. So we'll start with I mean, it depends on the capacity of the students and the capacity of what they want. Okay, it's up to you guys. I mean, the first thing is I will do what my lama asked me, and I'm going to go over the tantric vows. I think I received many teachings on the tantric vows. Wow, I don't know, maybe in the Gallup tradition, I received it many, many years, many times. I received it from the Drikum Kagi, from Garchen Rinpoche. I received it from other teachers as well, Glenn Millen and other teachers that I have. I think that the first time that my mind was blown up when I received the teaching from Lama Lena. Because when she gave these teachings, I felt like, oh my, like I'm coming home. And it changed my whole perspective about the vows. And when we discussed it back then, she said, "Oh, okay, you should teach the tantric vows." And that was kind of something nice. And then it came, when are you going to teach the tantric vows? When are you going to teach the tantric vows? So that's when I'm going to start. Okay, so this is the first course that I mean, it's not course, it's teaching, but not so teaching. I would like to have some kind of conversation because we are applying those into our life. I mean, it's a daily issue to follow vows. I don't even like to call them vows, by the way. I like to call them like mind training, like instructions. I want to follow them. But once my husband and myself, we were in His Holiness Initiation Empowerment of Kala Chakra. It was in 2011. It was in Washington, D.C. And I remember that he gave a teaching about the vows. He gave the teaching about the Hinayana vows, the Mahayana, the Bodhisattva vows, and all other vows, and also on Tantric vows. And in the Hinayana, I mean, in the lower vows, they were said, you don't drink alcohol, for example, okay? And in the Gallic tradition, you don't allow to put even one drop of an alcohol on your tongue. Now, let's talk to people in the West, you don't drink wine during it. And he gave a totally different teaching about this vow than I ever heard. because he said, okay, you know, it's just instructions. So you want to change something. So maybe now when you during the week, you drink during lunch, and during evening, you drink 1 glass of wine, and then in the weekend, you drink a lot and you get drunk and stuff like that. Maybe you want to reduce it to 1 glass of wine. Okay? Maybe you want to reduce it to 1 glass of wine. So all of a sudden, it wasn't a restriction not to put 1 drop on your tongue. You understand? Because he saw the audience and he gave the teaching to this audience. So back to your question, Dorit, I was just expressing. Tantric vows, it will be the first. Then I was asked to give teachings about the Vajrasattva, but it will be more elaborated because it will not be just Vajrasattva, it will be also purification tools, because Vajrasattva it's one tool. I did 3 months retreat with 100,000 mantras of Vajrasattva. If you know the long mantra, you know it takes 3 months to do it, okay? So, and of course, afterwards I did the fire puja and everything to be capable of giving the initiation and to give but I don't want to give the initiation. We'll see. Lamalina said that we might want to do it together. We'll see. But Vajrasattva and purification tools are very important. If you want to know how to clean your mind and how to make the transformation faster, you want to know these two very well. You want to know what's going on there and how it goes. Then we thought about the 5-Dhyani Buddha mandala. Okay, this is very important because this is what we do. In the Anuttara Yoga Tantra, there is one of the offering is that you take the 5 meats and you which are equivalent to the 5 negative emotions, and you transform them into the 5 wisdom. Now, if you go to the sadhana, you just do it, and you don't know what you do, you better don't do it. It's just words. You don't know what you're doing. Okay? So we'll go there, and then we'll see. I don't know.
Thank you, Dorit. Thank you.
Okay, and then maybe one of you will want to do something else, you know. We'll see how we're going to do that. So if there are no more questions, so we can dedicate. And by the way, there are many, many kinds of dedication. Now you can dedicate in 1 word. You can dedicate like the long chapter of Master Shantideva, who I love and adore. Okay, he has a long chapter. Everything there is dedication, or Kuntu Zampo dedication, which is a long dedication. Just to learn those dedication prayers, it's amazing. Okay, so we'll do it like we do in Lamalina's classes. I see most of the people here. I know them from Zoom, so we'll do it from there. Okay. Gewadi Yodudan Chechi Alam Gopashe. Maybe we will be able, I think we will be able to transform ourselves and to help all other beings to transform themselves and to get out from suffering. That's what I wish us and the whole world. So thank you very much. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you, Dorit.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll bet.